Hi, good morning, Davenport. Mayor Matson again here today, talking with you. I have the wonderful police chief for Davenport, Mr. Paul Sikorsky, with us. As you've seen in other guests, we've just had an opportunity to have them give some thoughts and conversations both during COVID and to introduce and let them speak on a few issues. So today, quickly, I'll just ask the chief if he could speak about his department and the role that they operate in now during COVID, and then just a couple of the thoughts. So Chief, first, thanks for coming and taking a few moments out of your busy schedule to talk with me and the citizens of Davenport. Appreciate that very much. First, I guess, sometimes I think most people understand, but first responders such as your department and your officers, we talk a lot about telling everybody to stay home, but as we know from everything, I think now, police, fire, EMS, hospital workers, grocery, all these folks just doing their job. You guys are no different, except now you have an environment to, when you go respond, you have to think about some things. So if you could just take a few moments and talk about your department during COVID and what your thoughts are.
Sure. First, thanks for having me. And,
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here and to serve our community. Things are different for our police department during this time. And one of the things we've had to do is really learn what this virus is, how to protect our staff, how to protect our officers, and really how to handle that in our community as well. Our governor and you, Mayor, and our council have certainly laid out some great guidelines to try and keep our community safe, keep our staff safe. And, our officers have been called many times out into the community where some of our community members have seen people, whether it's a social distancing issues or perhaps they've seen bars or restaurants open at different times. So they've gone to investigate. And really it's about educating our community as well. That's what we have spent most of our time doing is educating them and also asking them to comply with it. And we've seen an incredible response from our community as it relates to that. And internally with our department, learning about this virus and then trying to protect our officers. It's new for us. We know about wearing gloves for protection and those kind of things. That's a normal thing for us. But the masks, and the ability to giving our officers the responsibility of using that personal protective equipment when they think it's necessary for both themselves and for our community members. One quick story. We're learning as we go as well. I received an email from one of our community members that she noticed that some of our officers weren't wearing masks while out on a call. And it was one of those calls where it was an emergency call. It was a shots fired incident. And our officers were apprehended a suspect. And then they were also, after things slowed down, they were interviewing neighbors and gathering evidence and those kinds of things. So with that information from the community member, I sent that information to my commanders just for a perspective from our community and how can we continue to adjust on scene when we need to, and it's just a great reminder. And it was from one of our community members about that. So we continue to adjust and to try and get better at this, and we're still learning about it as well, like everybody else is.
Right. Well, thank you, and we appreciate your service, yours and your department, just like we do with all our first responders. Because again, I think the point can't be made enough is that during this time, whether you're a hospital worker, nurse, police officer, fire department personnel, any of those EMS or people that regular business still happens when somebody needs assistance, they call 911 and someone's responding.
Absolutely.
Police officer, but you're responding in an environment, maybe there's something going on, maybe I have, and what I've loved, I've said it before and I'll continue to say it, and I think everybody understands it, but again, it needs to be said. We thank you so much because when people call, they need assistance, you go and you help. And that's appreciated in normal environments, but really appreciated during this time. So I thank you and your officers for basically doing your job. And I know sometimes we take it, that for granted. But now when we all say, well, you need to stay home, you need to not do this, not you guys, so.
Yeah, I do want to applaud our staff for really the patience
Yeah.
that they've shown during this thing, and our community as well, because we have, some of our calls for service that we normally go to, our officers have been making a phone call to our community members and trying to handle the call over the phone. And it's really just about limiting and mitigating risk for both the community members and our staff. And we've gone through the past, 6 weeks or so now, and our staff has been so patient in just adjusting our services, and the community has as well. We've had very little complaint from our community members about the adjusted in services that we've made. We're still 100% open for business.
Right.
We just asked our staff to do it smarter.
And I think some of this, even though this is a terrible time and people are getting sick and people are dying, but there are some lessons we're taking from this, both in your department and others, the compassion and just being a little bit safer in how we do things. Isn't necessarily a bad thing, although it's terrible that it has to happen here, but I appreciate your work. So kind of pivoting a little bit, Chief, if you might. I know we talked Friday, you and I and some of the community had a little discussion with the public and the media. We had an uptick in some issues going on with shots fired or whatever, and I know you guys are on it, and I said this, and you talked very eloquently about what you're doing. But in this environment, for some other viewers, if you could just talk about a little bit about that, what you're doing and how you're dealing with that. So.
Yeah, I'd love to. One of the big things that we're doing as an agency, we're participating in a public safety partnership. We're almost complete with our first year of a 3-year process, working with the Department of Justice. And really what the basis for this program is to reduce violent crime in our city. We were selected, we applied for this partnership. And, over this last year, we've had outside eyes look at how we investigate non-fatal shootings. We've had outside eyes take a look at our crime analysis capabilities, and we've really learned, and we're learning about those and how to adjust them, how to make them better, how to make them more efficient, more effective for our processes. Some of the things that we've found that really work well for us when it relates to these shootings that we're seeing in the violent crime is really information and information sharing. So each week we take the latest information on what has happened, and we build a priority of work for our officers. So that's a priority of work for our patrol officers who are out on the street, going into the either areas or looking for specific people that we believe are involved in some of these incidents. Same thing with our NETS officers. And then our investigators are putting all this information together and working on these cases, and using some of the technology that really has been vital for us. You, as well as the rest of the council and our city administration, really took a big step last year in purchase of the NIBIN technology. And, since we've had that, we've had more than 250 leads based out, and that's not just a Davenport initiative. While we are sponsoring that initiative, it's a nationwide. We're hooked into the National Ballistics Information Network. And our entire Quad City area law enforcement is using this technology because, as that there's not borders for these incidents. We have them in all the cities and all the areas in the Quad Cities, and we're sharing that information. Just yesterday, received some really vital information from Moline Police Department about an incident they had there.
Okay.
The week before, Bettendorf Police Department. Our officers are working hand in hand with the other agencies within our Quad City region, and we're working together. I mean, Davenport residents probably see more Scott County sheriff's vehicles in our area. The sheriff is really good about having his staff work in our area when there's something going on as well. We welcome that. Same thing we went and helped Bettendorf Police on an incident in Bettendorf a couple weeks ago. So we will continue to share each other's resources and to collaborate on all of these public safety issues that we're all experiencing. And we're going to continue to improve and get better. And I know we have support from our elected officials and from city administration as well.
Thank you, Chief. So citizens, as you watch this and listen, you've heard it from me, but especially now you hear it again from your police chief. Public safety is number one. They're on it. They're using different strategies, different things during COVID and while we're in this pandemic, but know that your city's safe. Your police department is on this and taking care of business. And you heard the chief touch on some things about how they use their different parts of their department to work together and how they work together with other cities. And it's a collaborative effort to do that. So again, I want to thank you, chief, and your department for doing it. Citizens know that even during the pandemic, your police department and your city is working hard to ensure that Davenport is a safe, stable, and welcoming community. So, Chief, I'll just let you final word. If you want to say anything else, I thank you for coming. So,
yeah, thank you for allowing me to be here, Mayor. It's a privilege to serve this community. It's my community, and I know our officers. I couldn't be more proud of what they do and how they take care of their business. As a police department, we're going to continue to grow and get better as well.
Cool. Thank you, Chief. Thanks for your work. Express that to your department. And everyone, remember, we're not to 15 May yet. We're still in kind of stay at home. We need to social distance. We need to stick with this a little longer. We will start to open up a little bit, but follow what the governor's doing and listen to us. And please help us get through this so we can open up. But we need to social distance and stay 6 feet apart. Thank you for listening. Chief, thanks for coming. Please call me or the chief. Email us. We'll be happy to get back with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.